Hi everybody, my name is Jess and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are encountering something interesting. This is a video that showed up on my algorithm and I thought it'd be really fun to explore with you guys. It is by a channel called Woo, which thank you Woo for making the video because I think it's going to be an important topic. It is entitled The Sexualization of Women in K-Pop. Now we know that men also are sexualized in the scene, but a huge emphasis is directed to women, you know, for a lot of different reasons. It is that way in America as well. So as somebody who is a choreographer, and I'm very aware that there is choreography that is structured to give the impression of having a sexual, sensual kind of nature about it, depending on the context, I do think it's an important discussion within my niche for us to look through together. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Hey hola, salute, oi, annyeong haseyo. Welcome to another amazing video. In today's video, we're going to talk about something other than idol. Surprise! We'll be discussing the sexualization of women in K-pop. I was going to include male idols here too, because it's just as important, but I think it's best to separate them as there's a lot to cover solely for women. So at the end of the video, please let me know if you'd like to see a video like this for male idols. Yes, I know you are probably tired of seeing and hearing about this topic, but unlike the TikToks you see talking about this, I will be very thorough and detailed to make you understand everything about this issue.
Bestie, I got you a brain.
Into sections to make it easier to connect the dots. So yes, you can jump to the part you are more interested in. I recommend watching everything to understand how everything is linked. I'm a silly goose most of the time, but this is a serious topic, so please pay attention to what is being said. That all being said, let's start. Okay,
professional
so what is
yapper.
Sexualization? Sexualization is the emphasis on the sexual nature of a behavior or person that has nothing inherently sexual. It is linked to sexual objectification and exploitation, which, in search of profit, leads to the treatment of people as sole objects of sexual desire. If you still didn't get it, let me give you an example. A brand wants to start selling lingerie, which has nothing inherently sexual about it. It's just clothing, however. To attract attention, they decide to create ads with girls in seductive poses, tight or matching clothing, and more. In this manner, consumers will be more interested in the girls' bodies than in the products themselves, which usually leads to more sales. Now that you know what the term means, let me explain how it has been connected to K-pop. It's no secret that the K-pop industry began following the Japanese idol system, which previously sought out young, innocent, and individualistic cuteness in the scene.
Let me stop there. So I think, so firstly, they say the idol system from Japan, but I want you to also know that the K-pop sound a lot of times has a heavy influence on a Western music scene of rap, hip-hop, and pop. So it's very multicultural at the get-go and at the jump, and I didn't know this, that it followed the J-pop or the Japanese idol system. That's a very fascinating thing.
After an economic crisis and the success of idols worldwide, the innocence morphed into a more romantic and hipper image in the early 2000s. This was the first major step toward the sexualization of female idols. Again, the K-pop industry began by following the footsteps of the Japanese system, so around the same time. A new generation of K-pop fans had emerged thanks to its fame worldwide. Sex had become common, and idol-worshipping people, especially teenagers, had emerged. South Korea incorporated more westernized culture into its exported products to increase worldwide sales, resulting in a significant hypersexualization of items. Songs, music videos, and even the performers were adjusted to improve exportability. Combining this with Korea's male-dominated society results in an aggressively sexualized popular music business.
That matters. So if the market is a particular gender or it's heavy in one gender, naturally that's going to influence what that gender would want to see. Now, of course, you have people that vibe or are attracted to different genders, right? I'm talking specifically, like, if you speak in the heterosexual sense, men being attracted to women, men seeing women, and of course with a lot of just the oversaturation and, like, in America, just the sexualized material that is so easy to access is really, like, it's, your brains are already starting, you get exposed so young, and it can shift how your brain is hardwired. This has been studied. There's so many case studies on this, on how porn or sexualized material or anything like that, whenever you look and you're a voyager and when you view those things, how your brain shifts and rewires. And so if you have a society that is associated with that, they're going to naturally want that in other facets outside of this little secret they have, right? And not only that, if it's culturally accepted, they're going to push it even more.
The advent of music videos to help brand recognition brought a survival of the fittest attitude to the images of the artists. That is, the sexier artists survived. As a result, sexual content has increased in K-pop music videos. This means that there is a significant increase in the display, mainly through clothing, but there is not much of an increase in sexual acts depicted, as anything regarded as sex itself is taboo, while sexual-inducing content is okay. That is why companies use and abuse this discreet, explorative way of profiting. This sexualization of young girls and infantilization of grown-up women creates an environment where it becomes acceptable to view children as seductive and sexy when it's not. Generally speaking, this trend increases tolerance of a certain kind of violence against women, which could even lead to a greater risk of sexual aggression from South Korean society. Hypersexualization influences young people's perception of sexuality. The huge amount of discrete sexual content that is publicly available generates a distorted understanding of one's image.
Bingo. Exactly that he's talking about, or the voiceover is talking exactly like in the same vein of what I just mentioned.
You guys
that
know,
right there.
Most of those obsessed with K-pop are children and teens. So their vision is constantly being distorted by the industry, leading to twisted behavior such as misogyny, hatred, and more. As I slightly mentioned previously, the sexualization of idols has an economic reason. It is directly related to profits, as it assures the success of a product. Well, at least a part of it.
That also is that's in the Western scene in America too.
The image of Asian women is often linked to sexuality due to fetishization and xenophobia. As the flagship cultural commodities of South Korea, female idols are expected to be sexy and independent, in conjunction with being a product of the patriarchal South Korean capitalist society, which wants them to be submissive and innocent. They can't date to maintain innocence, have a directed public life and persona, and are shamed for not keeping their appearance up. They must have the guise of ambiguity, providing vulnerability, but keeping them whimsical and desirable, all to maximize profits and success. Believe it or not, the government and its patriarchal capitalism aid this stratification of genders, and vice versa, meaning that sexism supports the success of South Korea's patriarchal capitalism, forcing the sexual objectification of idols. Now that you understand what it means and the context, let's talk about something that can be confusing to some people.
No, I actually appreciate that they took the time to do this, because it's going to actually make their perspective a little bit more, you're going to look at it with a more appropriate lens, because they provided the context in which they're viewing, the scope in which they're operating from, because this is such a wide topic, just depending on whatever group you're dealing with, as well as the market, you know, and there's so many, there's always two sides to everything, right? Just as there's groups that are really like being pressured immensely. That Gen 2 era is a prime example of a lot of that happening. But you also have groups that have this freedom of exploration of these same exact genres, and a lot of times it's hard to tell who is being forced into it and who is actively making the choice freely, because that is the difference between uninformed consent and informed consent, right? Because a lot of times we have this conversation of when you get people that are really young adults or teetering close to that adult age, depending on your government regulations on what's deemed an adult. I think that, and I think there was a Patreon member that I had is worded this fantastic in regards to, like, instead of doing a cookie cutter at this age, you're an adult, you can do whatever you want. It's more so thinking about the power of influence in whether you are informed about the decisions that you make or not informed. So if they tell you to do something and you're not informed on what that true scope is and you're being forced into it, that is not appropriate. But if you're fully aware and you make the choice, that's more appropriate. But also, I would say age and influence carry a huge weight in that, and who you surround yourself with, and who is your mentor, and who is guiding you too. It's so deep, but this is such a fascinating topic. But I'm glad they worded this.
Something sexy and something sexual.
Yeah.
Something is judged as sexy when it's pleasing to the eye, primarily referring to physical attractiveness, while something sexual has an inherently sexual nature to it. The sinister difference between the two terms is immediately evident. If a woman is being sexy, she embodies her self-expression of her individually. If a woman is being sexualized, her self-expression is disregarded, as she is only seen for her sexual appeal. A woman who is being sexy is confidently practicing ownership of her body and sexuality. A woman who is being sexualized is being reduced to nothing more than an object. Viewing and treating women as solely sexual beings promotes a violent culture in which the woman is always badly viewed for her body, regardless of what she does. Especially in South Korea, the only acceptable circumstance in which a woman can show her sexiness is when someone is sexualizing them. As you guys most likely know, many female idols love to be and act sexy, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. They are exploring their their body, sensuality, and sexuality. And more than that, most of the time, they are just having fun with themselves. However, due to the circumstances and facts previously explained, that is not how people perceive it, which brings us to the next topic, perspective. Perspective is the way individuals see the world. It comes from their point of view and is shaped by life experiences, values, their current state of mind, the assumptions they bring into a situation, and many other things. A perspective is not right or wrong by default. It just is what it is. The point of view of a single person based on their life experiences and values, among other things. K-pop stans, however, can't grasp this concept and end up forcing their faith, thoughts, and beliefs onto idols, which is ultimately wrong, as other people have nothing to do with what you think. So, whenever a female idol acts sexy or comfortable with their body, people will act like it's the most immoral and evil thing in the world. Some may even claim that they are being sexualized and explored.
He stopped working. What?
This behavior is often seen...
Hold on. I think the over-sexualization is so overlooked, and I see people say it's that overuse. This is what happens when you debut Grow Women. But I think we may be forgetting that Hanul is 18 and barely an adult.
With the group Kiss of Life. All the girls are very comfortable and happy with themselves. They love to act like hot girls. Well, they are, and show their sexy side, as they have said themselves.
이러이러한 걸 좋아하고 앞으로 이런 걸 하고 싶어서 여기를 들어왔습니다. 그거를 이제 다 한 명씩 PPT로 정리를 해서 그런 브리핑하는 시간을 가졌었어요. 처음 그룹이 만들어지기 전에. 그리고 나서 이제 그걸 보고 회사도 아, 이 친구들이 자기 스스로에 대한 이해가 되게 깊은 친구들이고 하고자 하는 게 되게 뚜렷한 친구들이구나. 앞으로 뭐 했을 때 얘네들이 떨어져야겠구나 해서 그 이후로부터도 많은 참여를 하고 항상 각각 멤버가 잘하는 분야에 있어서 무조건 의견을 좀 많이 정리를 해서 보내는 편이에요.
뭐 앨범 하나를 기획하면 멤버들의 의견도 꼭 물어보는 편인데 줄리는 기획안을 써서 줘요. 그러니까 PPT를 만들어서 주거든요. 그 정도로 뭔가 기획적인 머리도 되게 좋은 친구여서.
They've been praised a lot for not being afraid to explore their sensuality, but many stans argue they're disrespecting a certain religion, that dancing in a certain way is nasty, or that they're being abused by their company. Once again, they are not doing any of these things mentioned. That is purely a question of viewpoint, but it's always good to remember your perspective has nothing to do with how other people behave. People, specifically celebrities, don't have to match any expectations you may have of them. I personally believe this occurs mostly because most K-pop fans are children and teens, so they have yet to understand more of the world, but there are probably some older and conservative people who think that...
I want to say this, though. Did you hear what they just said? This is actually important, so listen.
So they have yet to understand more of the...
This part.
...occurs mostly because most K-pop fans are children and teens.
Children and teens.
So they have yet to understand more of the world, but there are...
So they have yet to understand more of the world. So going into with Hanul, I still stand by this, and I've been vocal about it. Kiss of Life... It doesn't bother me that they're doing the concepts that they're doing. However, they have a responsibility to still be mindful of Hanul's age. She is not the same age as Julie and Natty. Do you know what I'm saying? She's not. And I think that's okay that we recognize that because Hanul was technically a teenager, which they just said they have not seen a lot of the world. And so a lot of times the younger somebody is, the less life they've experienced. And yes, you can experience a lot of life regardless of your age. You know, there's a lot of cases where it's about the quality of your time, not the quantity of it. I get that. But there's certain things that I think it's absolutely appropriate to, I think it's important that, and I think Kiss of Life is doing this in some capacity. There's certain instances where Natty and Julie are taking more on like the really sensual choices, and Hanul is taking a more modified approach, or the placement and direction is more on the conservative side, which I appreciate, but I do still feel that way too. As somebody who is fine with Kiss of Life. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that's okay. No, it's not because of my religion, and no, it's not because of those things, but I am an educator, and I have seen time and time and time again what happens in the industry when you have people that are on the younger side. They are so quick to be manipulated, and they're so quick to be oppressed by their opinion because they're so young, and they have no skin in the game of influence, and they have to listen to those that have influence. Is very connection and network heavy. To get somewhere, you have to have connections to get there. To stay there is your own competence. It works that way in most industries, and it sure works that way in the dance scene and in the entertainment scene. It's who you know. So a lot of times people who are younger are less inept to say no to things because they trust those that are leading them. right? But also if they say no, they don't have a lot of power to say no to people because they can get blacklisted. There's so many more negative things that can happen by saying no, which is why you see people get sexually exploited so often. Does that make sense? So all that to say, do I think that Kiss of Life, there could have been some concepts where they still could do what they're doing, but still be more considerate of Hanul? I personally believe so, and that's okay. You can disagree with me. Remember, my lens, which I understand, my perspective, I'm a dance educator and I train dancers that are Hanul's age. Do you know what I mean? So I have a first-hand experience on working with many dancers that are her age that want to pursue a entertainment scene of industry. And I know it's out there because I have to know because I'm an educator. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's okay that I have this opinion. You don't have to share that. That's fine. I'm not saying, I mean, I've Marathon Kiss of Life. I love what they do. That's fine. But I still think it's a very important topic to talk about as well.
There are probably some older and conservative people who think the same too. The last and probably most important point for today is the double standards. The double standard is the application of different sets of principles for situations that are the same. It is often used to describe treatment whereby one group is given more freedom than another. This can be seen in many forms, but mostly with genders. So often, females are treated differently from males, even though they should be treated the same way. As I explained at the beginning of this video, someone's gender role affects others' moral, social, political, and legal responses, particularly in South Korea, due to its strong cultural and historical background. It can be developed in people's minds for many reasons, including finding an excuse for hate and twisting facts to support beliefs. Doesn't this demeanor remind you of something I previously explained? With these double standards, female idols get criticized for things that male idols usually do. Female idols are frequently dressed in small, revealing clothes in which they are required to dance hard to hard choreo. This leads to the sexualization of female idols when they are performing on stage. Although boy groups are sexualized as well, the majority of them wear stage outfits that cover their bodies and have the option to reveal their body when performing. A great example of this was this year's Waterbomb Festival, where Yoonbi was heavily criticized for her clothing, body, and alleged nasty actions, while Baeko was heavily praised for his body.
I think that bothers me a lot too. I'm an individual where if you've seen me react and commentate on any Mnet show or any competitive dance show, I have talked about this because it has always happened, especially when you're dealing with judges. If you're going to say a statement or a critique about one group over here, doesn't matter the clout of a group, you apply that same thing to a group over here. If you care about synchronicity, musicality, and timing, and you're gonna dock a group for it, but then over here, you like the concept so you're more forgiving, no, you're out of pocket for it, and that's not appropriate for the role that you're in. So I agree with this. I personally have these same questions. When there is a group that is pursuing a sensual concept, the first thing in my head, how old are they? And also, it doesn't matter how old they are a lot of times too. It's how much influence or how much say did they have in this concept. Because I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of times where they're showing their skin or they're doing a concept that may be fun to do in theory, but actually it was they were ended up being exploited and they were notified after the fact. Like that's so corrupt. Like the whole thing is so corrupt because at the end of the day, sex sells. And so any company is going to take advantage. If somebody's got good looks and they know they can make money off of those said looks, they're going to utilize it. Even if they're fully covered, a lot of times they typecast. It is a prime field to typecast, do what you want, pick who you want, and pick and piece together whatever kind of format of an individual that you want to follow the trends and make as much money as possible. And it also shows the company. It shows you that the company does not care about the people as much as they care about the money. Because if that person didn't compromise and didn't show their skin as much, would they have been as successful? That's like a genuine question. I hate to say that, but it's like there's some fans, regardless of how diehard fans are, they watch certain groups, regardless of intention, for the sake that they look hot. Or for, like, who cares about their talent? Like, they like them because they're cute. Or they like them because they give them what they want. Do you know what I mean? Because we have to understand the world that we live in. Certain groups are popular for certain reasons. I come from the position of, is the group old enough and have enough influence in their own choreographies and their own choices, like Kiss of Life or like Idol, to where they can have that freedom of choice and also the support to go about it in a healthy way. That's a big thing too. You know, this is just such a fascinating thing, and it goes so so deep, right? And it's never going to go away. And that's what really sucks about it. And so the question is, how do we combat it? How do we still support the success of artists without making it to where they have to compromise themselves for the sake of their company making money to keep them active? Because a lot of times it's not their choice, because the company's doing it, so the group makes them money so they can keep promoting them. Like, that's so hard. Exit is a fantastic, I always think of them when I think of stuff like this. Brave Girls, yeah.
Let me show you more examples of double standards.
But Exit
Dating.
especially.
Whenever there is a dating controversy, female idols are at a much greater risk than males. When a female idol is dating, male fans will attack them for not being theirs. And even when the dating controversy involves male idols, enraged female fans will anonymously attack the female idols online. In general, when male idols get into controversies, such as DUI, bullying, and others, the fans will forgive or defend them. In contrast, if female idols get into controversies, it's the end of their career. Aside from the obvious patriarchal culture, I believe there are two main reasons for this to happen in K-pop: undiscovered misogyny and fetishization. Misogyny. It's common knowledge that female idols receive mistreatment in the industry merely because they are women in the patriarchal system. People are constantly fed with it and tend to repeat the pattern, especially if it can be used to justify hate.
Yes.
Misogyny is the hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against women. It is a form of sexism that can keep women at a lower social status than men, thus maintaining the social roles of patriarchy. Sometimes misogyny manifests in obvious ways, like the recent case of deep...
That was a really, really good music video, by the way. Revenge, that right there. Oh my God, so good. There have been series of deepfake sex crimes against celebrities. Was that during the Nth Room? Like the updated one? I was hearing about that. Hive and SM are securing evidence to take, and so is JYP. I heard JYP's involved too.
At other times, it is more subtle or disguised in ways that provide plausible deniability, something the K industry loves. Therefore, males will often subtly harass women so they won't have to take accountability for their actions. In fandom spaces, it's common for gay men to be super misogynistic and use the fact that they are queer as a guise to hate on women. But while being gay does not make anyone less of a man, it's just as disgusting. Some women experience internalized misogyny as well, and may express it through minimizing the...
Whoa. Okay, let's look at these. I need them. What are they? Who are they? Okay, so I do have questions. So, like, whenever we look at these, like, who is this towards? Disband. What does that mean? Like, what? Then we'll truly win. You're an idiot. Okay. JK with his own impact versus The Weeknd. What are you saying? This is embarrassing. What? Imagine releasing your solo after 5 years, so you have to pay. Oh, but what? Oh my God! Whoa! Who is Abel? Oh, Jenny. Are they talking about Jenny from Blackpink? That, oh, Lord. First, get your grammar right. Golly. Abel. See, who is Abel? Goodness. What? You need to go take a chill pill. Oh, good God. Okay. Bless it. I don't even want to get into that. Whatever. That's stupid.
The value of women and showing gender bias in favor of men. Which brings us to the second point. Fetishization. With the globalization of K-pop...
Yes, Menzie girl. Come on, CL and Dara and Bomb.
People romanticize it. From deciding to pursue a life in South Korea to even developing internalized racism toward their own cultures. Of course, they are not aware of the inequity that lurks within Korean society overall. Due to aesthetics and visuals, which are constantly boosted by fiction, many fans fetishize Korean people, specifically men, and are obsessed with them to the point where they'll harass female idols to make their fantasies come true. Okay, now the only question that remains is there a way to end the sexualization of women in K-pop? The answer is yes and no. Yes, since there are numerous ways to combat it, educate people, and promote a healthy perspective on women, particularly with the growing number of idols who are willing to speak out on these topics. And no, because the problem is so deeply ingrained in Korean society that...
Hold on, what did he say? What did the sub say? Biggest thing, feminism made men and women lose trust in each other and made them hostile to each other.
The The problem is so deeply ingrained in Korean society that it is too difficult to address, especially because K-pop is developing at an unfathomable rate. That is why it is critical to support and listen to idols who dare to speak up about women's sexualization and other issues, no matter how they do it. As fans, the biggest thing we can do is learn to respect others and understand that our perspectives are not the only ones that exist, nor are they the same as others. My faith has nothing to do with Jenny. The way I think is not the way Rose thinks. The way I like my clothes is not the way Lisa's clothes are supposed to be. Oh, and more than that, we should pay attention to women who are actually being sexually exploited and harassed by others, and not those who just love and are comfortable with themselves. Before finishing things up, let me talk about them. Yes, them. K-Pop Planet. K-Pop Planet is an online K-pop store based in Seoul, South Korea that sells everything K-pop related, including albums, photo cards, merchandise, magazines, and more. What makes them the best K-pop store in the universe is that they sell albums with photo card sets, with pre-order benefits from any store, as well as separately. Their prices are really great. Like, seriously, take a look at this. But if you use my code WOO5, you can get an even better deal. The code guarantees you a discount on all products in the store. You can use the link in the description box, and the discount will be applied automatically when you check out.
I mean, that's a pretty
or
good
you can type
ad.
the code at checkout. If I were you, I'd buy something quickly because at these prices, I will empty their stock soon. I'm going to leave links and any information you may need in the description
That's cute.
box.
That's
Thank
cute.
you, K-Pop Planet, for sponsoring today's video. That was it for today's video. Thank you so much for
Yay.
watching. Make sure to share your opinions here. I'd love to block everyone. Just kidding. I'd love to hear your perspective too. If you liked it, please consider leaving a like, commenting, subscribing. If you want to see more of me, I am always on Twitter complaining about something.
I'm always on Twitter complaining. That's really funny. Okay. So Woo, I guess, is one who does a lot of idol commentary based on what the intro looked like. This is so fascinating, right? Like, we gotta give props where props are due. There are some companies that do allow their groups to promote and have that creative freedom, which I think is cool. Like, I think it's good because it used to not be that way, like, at all. You know what I mean? Especially in those early generations. We all know. If you were there, you knew. So I think this is very interesting and definitely a interesting start to the conversation. And this has been a conversation I've had many a times, and I love getting to grow in this area, especially the deeper I go into leaning into different groups, understanding their lores, understanding their companies. I'm right in the middle of a Luna marathon, if that tells you a lot of things that I've been made aware of, what I've discovered, what I've had the unfortunate privilege of learning about of the mismanagement of the group and just how awful things were. And so I am one who will not shy away from these conversations because I think they're important. And as an educator myself who has seen sexualization of dancers that are under 10 in the studio scene, it is a really big thing for me, and I'm very sensitive to it. As an adult who teaches kids, I am not a fan of children being asked to act like adults in performative manners. And that's something we can talk about later, but just know that is my perspective. I stand by that as somebody who's responsible for children. It's something that I will always be an advocate for. And yeah, so this is a very fascinating video. Thank you, Woo, for it. And I am looking forward to the conversations we're going to have on this. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this. If you want to see Idol, if you want to see Luna, if you want to see any girl group that you've noticed that my face has been looking at as of late, I have a lot of it on YouTube, but I have so much more of all groups mentioned on Patreon. Kiss of Life too. I've enjoyed watching the groups for different reasons. It's been really fun. Some for their self-production side, some for their movement quality side. But I will say there's definitely a similarity between Kiss of Life and Idol when it comes to their freedom of expression or the way that they are able to showcase themselves the way they want to, which I like. Now, I will say with Idol, they've had a really tough time with Cube. We all know a lot of this. If you know, you know. But with Kiss of Life, it doesn't surprise me that they have that kind of freedom. I can tell in their movement quality and their genuinity and their emotions. You can tell the difference between somebody that's like doing something that they're not really comfortable with and somebody where it's their bread and butter. The movement quality is the receipts for it. And we've talked about it before, but I'm looking forward to more commentary on it. You guys know me, I know you, I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.